Relatable scenario. Remember that feeling when her hand lingered a little longer, or her hug felt a little different, and you just knew something had subtly changed? It's not just in your head. Our bodies communicate volumes, even when our mouths are silent. We'll unpack 3 surprising intimacy revelations that will help you decode those nuanced shifts in physical affection and understand your connection on a whole new level. Secret 1 is the foundation of everything. She pulls back when she doesn't feel emotionally safe. Women are far more emotionally sensitive than men in relationships, not in a weak way, but in an intuitive, subconscious way that men often underestimate. When a woman's touch changes, when it becomes colder, shorter, tense, distant, or inconsistent, it is rarely just about attraction fading. It is much deeper. It's because her nervous system no longer feels secure, predictable, or emotionally held by you. Emotional safety for a woman doesn't mean physical protection. She already assumes you can do that. It means emotional consistency, your tone, your moods, your communication, how you respond under stress, how grounded you are, and whether she can feel your presence even without words. When that emotional safety cracks, even slightly, her body reacts before her mind does. Her hugs lose warmth. Her kisses lose depth. Her touch loses softness. She withdraws, not because she wants to punish you, but because her biology tells her to protect herself. A woman cannot fully relax into a man she does not feel emotionally safe with. Her feminine energy can only open when his masculine presence is steady, calm, emotionally attuned, and predictable. If your energy has become inconsistent, maybe you've been stressed, distracted, quick-tempered, distant, overly reactive, or emotionally disconnected, she feels it instantly. Women are emotional detectors. They feel shifts in men's internal state even before men realize they're shifting. So her touch becomes guarded. Her body stiffens during intimacy. She stops initiating. She pulls away more often. She gives side hugs instead of chest-to-chest embraces. She stops touching you randomly throughout the day. These small behaviors are not random. They are the feminine nervous system withdrawing to safety mode. When a woman doesn't feel emotionally safe, she becomes self-protective, cautious, and less physically expressive. Her body stops trusting the connection even if her mind still loves you. Even if you're a good man, even if you treat her well, emotional safety isn't about what you do one time. It's about how consistently you show up. Emotional inconsistency is the biggest intimacy killer. Women notice tone changes long before they react to behavior changes. If your tone becomes cold, impatient, irritated, sharp, or dismissive, her nervous system tightens. If you stop listening deeply, or if you're physically present but emotionally absent, her body senses the disconnection. If you start becoming unpredictable, some days loving, other days distant, her nervous system goes into alert mode. Emotional safety is feminine oxygen. Without it, her body cannot relax. The tragic part is that she will rarely tell you this directly. She won't say, "I don't feel emotionally safe with you anymore." Instead, she will pull back physically because her physical intimacy behavior is a reflection of her emotional trust. This is why some men get confused. But nothing is wrong, they say. Why is she pulling away? Something is wrong, but it's emotional, subtle, and unspoken. Emotional safety is when she feels she can open herself without fear of judgment, abandonment, emotional instability, or unexpected reactions. When you are calm, grounded, and emotionally present, it calms her nervous system. When you listen without defensiveness, it relaxes her energy. When you are consistent, she softens. When your presence is steady, she becomes affectionate again. When you are predictable in your emotional patterns, she trusts you fully. And when a woman trusts you, her touch becomes warm, deep, and connected. Her body leans into yours. Her hands linger on your chest. Her hugs become tighter. Her kisses become more intimate. She melts into you. So the key is not to force her to open or demand more affection. That only makes her feel more unsafe. Instead, rebuild emotional safety by restoring your calmness, your presence, and your emotional grounding. Let her see that you are stable, steady, and consistent. Recreate emotional predictability, the kind that makes her feel, I can relax with him, I can open to him, I trust him. When emotional safety returns, her nervous system releases the tension and her touch naturally softens again, without being asked, without being pressured, and without being forced. Because for a woman, emotional safety is not optional. It is the very foundation of feminine intimacy. Secret 2 goes to the emotional core of feminine psychology. When a woman's touch begins to change, becoming slower, lighter, more distant, or strangely inconsistent, it's often because she's feeling an emotional gap growing between you that she doesn't know how to talk about, doesn't know how to frame, or simply doesn't feel safe admitting out loud. Women are deeply intuitive, and intimacy for them is never just physical. It's psychological, emotional, and energetic all at once. This means her touch becomes the first place where her fears appear, where her doubts show, and where her internal conflict tries to communicate with you. Not with words, but with the way she reaches for you, or doesn't. And this emotional gap isn't always because you did something wrong. Sometimes it's because she's carrying insecurities she hasn't fully dealt with, fears she's had long before she met you, or emotional wounds that wake up the moment she feels a man getting too close. But instead of saying, I'm scared, or I feel disconnected, or I'm not sure you're fully emotionally present with me, she shifts the way she touches you. Maybe she hesitates before wrapping her arms around you. Maybe her hand rests on you for a moment and pulls away quicker than before. Maybe the way she cuddles changes from relaxed and intertwined to controlled and minimal. These are subtle signs, but to a woman, they feel huge. Women often fear emotional rejection more than physical rejection, so when her emotions feel shaky, her touch becomes guarded. And if she senses, even slightly, that you're mentally distracted, emotionally unavailable, or internally distant, she will mirror that with a quieter, softer, more withdrawn touch. This is why so many men misinterpret her shift. They think she's losing interest sexually, when the truth is she's losing confidence emotionally. A woman's physical closeness is tied directly to the emotional connection she feels with you in the moment. If she feels the gap widening, her touch becomes careful. Not cold, just careful. She doesn't want to give the full warmth of her body if she feels like she can't reach the full presence of your mind. She doesn't want to melt into your chest if she feels like your heart is somewhere else. She doesn't want to give her most vulnerable self if she senses you're not giving your most attentive self. Instead, rebuild emotional safety by restoring your calmness, your presence, and your emotional grounding. Let her see that you are stable, steady, and consistent. Recreate emotional predictability, the kind that makes her feel, I can relax with him, I can open to him, I trust him. When emotional safety returns, her nervous system releases the tension, and her touch naturally softens again, without being asked, without being pressured, and without being forced. Because for a woman, emotional safety is not optional. It is the very foundation of feminine intimacy, and this emotional sensitivity goes deeper than most men realize. Women pick up on tone, on energy, on tension in your shoulders, on the way you breathe, on whether you're really there or just physically present. They notice when you're mentally overwhelmed, emotionally checked out, worried, insecure, or quietly frustrated. They notice even when you think you're hiding it. And when they notice, their touch responds, not to punish you, but to protect themselves. Her touch becomes a shield, soft but present, distant but not disconnected. Different because she doesn't want to overextend emotionally when she doesn't know where you stand. Sometimes the emotional gap she feels is about the relationship itself. Maybe she feels like you've become slightly complacent. Maybe she senses routine settling in. Maybe she feels less desired, less prioritized, or less seen than before. Women don't need dramatic changes to feel an emotional shift. Something as simple as you being on your phone more, giving shorter replies, or being less affectionate throughout the day can make her feel the bond weakening. And she won't say it because she doesn't want to seem clingy, dramatic, or insecure. So her touch becomes her message. I feel the distance, and I don't know how to tell you. But here's the deeper truth most men never learn. When a woman feels a growing emotional gap, she won't always pull away physically. Sometimes she'll become more physically affectionate, but in a way that feels tense, urgent, or overly gentle. She's trying to reconnect, trying to feel reassurance, trying to rebuild closeness through touch because words feel too risky. This is why her touch can feel confusing. It's not always less, sometimes it's more, but different. And that difference reveals her emotional uncertainty. To understand her, you must understand this. A woman's touch does not change randomly. It changes because her emotional landscape shifted. Something inside her is unsettled, unclear, or unbalanced. And once you understand that, once you stop reacting to the behavior and start tuning into the emotion behind the behavior, you become the one thing she needs most: emotionally present. That presence closes the gap. It softens her walls. It reawakens her feminine comfort. And slowly, her touch becomes warm again. Not because you forced it, but because she feels connected again. She feels seen again. She feels safe again. Her touch isn't about the surface, it's about the soul. When you understand the emotional gap she struggles to express, and you meet her with presence instead of confusion, that's when her touch returns to what it was: soft, full, genuine, and deeply connected. Secret 3 uncovers one of the most powerful and often misunderstood aspects of feminine psychology. A woman's touch changes not because she is losing attraction, but because she is testing the emotional depth, stability, and resilience of the connection, as well as your ability to remain grounded, confident, and steady under the subtle pressures of intimacy and evolving emotional dynamics. Women instinctively scan for emotional stability, consistency, and masculine strength before fully investing themselves physically and emotionally. And when her touch shifts, becoming slower, lighter, more hesitant, or even slightly withdrawn, it is rarely a conscious decision. It is a deeply intuitive, subconscious evaluation of whether the bond is capable of supporting both her vulnerability and her feminine energy. Unlike men, who often react to withdrawal as rejection or loss of interest, women use temporary shifts in touch as a barometer for your emotional reliability and presence. She is not playing games or being manipulative. Rather, she is measuring whether the man she has chosen can hold steady while she experiences internal fluctuations, emotional doubts, or subconscious fears. This testing manifests subtly at first. A hand may linger only briefly on your arm. A hug may be shorter. A kiss may be softer and less urgent. Or the natural warmth she once gave freely may feel restrained or hesitant. Sometimes her touch is still there, but it is different. She may touch more carefully, almost experimentally, observing how you respond without overtly signaling that she's assessing your energy. It changes because her emotional landscape shifted. Something inside her is unsettled, unclear, or unbalanced. And once you understand that, once you stop reacting to the behavior and start tuning into the emotion behind the behavior, you become the one thing she needs most: emotionally present. That presence closes the gap. It softens her walls. It reawakens her feminine comfort. And slowly, her touch becomes warm again. Not because you forced it, but because she feels connected again. She feels seen again. She feels safe again. Her touch isn't about the surface, it's about the soul. When you understand the emotional gap she struggles to express, and you meet her with presence instead of confusion, that's when her touch returns to what it was: soft, full, genuine, and deeply connected. This is because women are biologically wired to protect their vulnerability and gauge the emotional environment before fully opening up. She is asking, on a subconscious level, can I trust him with my heart? Can I rely on him emotionally when things feel uncertain? Will he remain grounded and strong even if I pull back, even if my energy shifts, even if I don't communicate clearly? These are not small questions. They are fundamental to whether she can feel safe letting her heart, her body, and her energy fully merge with yours. And the reason men often fail this test is that they mistake her withdrawal as a problem to fix immediately, a rejection to reverse, or a sign of diminished attraction. Most men panic, overanalyze, ask for explanations, or chase harder, which only reinforces her subconscious perception that the connection lacks stability. She is watching your response to uncertainty, tension, and temporary emotional distance to see if you are genuinely masculine, grounded, consistent, emotionally self-sufficient, and unshaken, rather than fragile, reactive, or dependent on her validation. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she can lean fully into intimacy. But when she senses even the slightest instability in your presence, tone, posture, attention, or emotional reactivity, her body instinctively pulls back. Her touch softens, shortens, or becomes intermittent because she is protecting her energy until she can feel you as reliable again. She might test multiple times, not because she doubts her feelings for you, but because the female brain evaluates safety repeatedly, especially when her heart and femininity are on the line. Each minor shift in her touch is a question rather than a statement. Each pause, hesitation, or careful gesture is a way for her nervous system to check if the emotional foundation is strong enough to support intimacy, vulnerability, and the release of her softer, more receptive energy. If you respond with panic, neediness, irritation, or insecurity, you inadvertently confirm the very fears she is guarding against. Her nervous system tightens, she withdraws further, and her touch becomes colder or more distant. If, however, you respond with calm presence, emotional steadiness, warmth, and gentle confidence, you pass the test without a word. Your unshakable grounding communicates safety faster than anything you could say. Women respond biologically to emotional stability. They don't need lectures, promises, or explanations. They need the reassurance of energy. This is why so many men feel frustrated when her touch changes. They see only the behavior and misinterpret the reason. Her touch is not random. It is the emotional thermometer of the relationship. It measures trust, consistency, emotional strength, and the quality of your masculinity in real time. Women are wired to evaluate whether a man can withstand emotional complexity and still remain dependable, because intimacy is not just a physical act for them. It is a delicate negotiation of energy, trust, and vulnerability. Her touch will soften only when she feels safe to release herself into your presence. It is not about coercion or obligation. It is about emotional clarity and alignment. To navigate this correctly, you must remain emotionally self-sufficient, avoid reactive behaviors, maintain warmth without dependency, and stay present without forcing the connection. When you master this, her nervous system gradually releases tension, and her touch returns with renewed softness, intimacy, and emotional depth. She leans closer, her hands linger, her kisses deepen, and her affection flows naturally. Not because she is trying to please you, but because she feels safe to express herself fully. Women test because they want to know the reliability of the connection over time, not just in the immediate moment. They want to experience how you respond when energy shifts, when emotions are unclear, and when subtle distance appears. A man who can hold the space, who does not collapse under temporary withdrawal, who does not chase needily or react emotionally, communicates to her nervous system that the bond is secure and resilient. When she senses that emotional reliability, her feminine energy fully returns, and her touch reflects the intimacy, desire, and warmth she once offered freely. The relationship deepens, trust strengthens, and the connection becomes almost magnetic, because she knows she can safely be vulnerable, expressive, and open without fear of emotional collapse. Her testing is not a threat. It is an invitation for you to demonstrate the quality of your presence. Every hesitation in touch, every shift in closeness, is an opportunity for you to show grounded, emotionally mature masculinity. And when you respond correctly, the reward is profound. A woman who feels safe, fully connected, emotionally seen, and physically expressive. Her touch transforms from hesitant and careful to warm, inviting, passionate, and deeply connected, because she now trusts both your emotional presence and the relationship itself. Understanding this principle is one of the most powerful insights in feminine psychology. Her changing touch is never random. It is a language, a signal, a question, and a measurement of emotional and energetic stability. Men who read and respond to this correctly become irresistible, deeply trusted, and deeply desired because they communicate emotional security without words. And when her trust and her feminine energy are fully unlocked, the intimacy, the softness, and the connection become stronger than ever before. Final message to the viewer. And that brings us to the end of Her Touch Changed, 3 intimacy secrets she's hiding. Listen, if you've made it this far, it means you're not just a casual listener. You're someone who genuinely wants to understand women on a deeper, emotional, psychological, and intuitive level. And the truth is, intimacy is not just about the physical connection. It's about the silent language behind the touch, the shift in her energy, the emotions she's too guarded, or too afraid, to express out loud. Most men never notice these things. They focus on what she says instead of what she feels. They focus on the actions instead of the emotional blueprint beneath those actions. But you just learned what 99% of men never take the time to understand. You now know. When her touch feels distant, it's rarely about the moment. It's about the fears she's carrying. When her touch becomes hesitant, it's because she's hiding an emotional signal she hopes you'll notice without her having to verbalize it. And when her touch grows warmer, more present, more attentive, it's because you've created an emotional environment where she feels safe to be feminine, expressive, and vulnerable. Let this be your reminder. Understanding a woman's touch is understanding her heart. Never underestimate the subtle shifts. Never ignore the emotional clues. And never forget, women communicate intimacy in ways that are quiet, delicate, and deeply layered. When you can read those layers, when you can sense the meaning beneath her silence, you instantly become the kind of man who makes her feel understood in a way she can't even explain. If you found value in this, make sure you subscribe, because I drop deep, eye-opening breakdowns like this every single week. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Until then, stay aware, stay grounded, and keep becoming the man who understands what others overlook. Every hesitation in touch, every shift in closeness, is an opportunity for you to show grounded, emotionally mature masculinity. And when you respond correctly, the reward is profound. A woman who feels safe, fully connected, emotionally seen, and physically expressive. Her touch transforms from hesitant and careful to warm, inviting, passionate, and deeply connected, because she now trusts both your emotional presence and the relationship itself. Understanding this principle is one of the most powerful insights in feminine psychology. Her changing touch is never random. It is a language, a signal, a question, and a measurement of emotional and energetic stability. Men who read and respond to this correctly become irresistible, deeply trusted, and deeply desired, because they communicate emotional security without words. And when her trust and her feminine energy are fully unlocked, the intimacy, the softness, and the connection become stronger than ever before.